I overheard my mother-in-law's plan to destroy my wedding. I never thought my wedding day would be filled with so much drama. My name is Sophie Bennett, and I'm 28 years old. I was about to marry the love of my life, Max Harrison, who is 30. We had been together for 3 years, and I was convinced I was marrying my best friend. But just days before the wedding, I started to notice some suspicious behavior from my future mother-in-law, Carol Harrison. Max and I met in college at the University of Washington. I was studying marketing while he was pursuing a degree in computer science. We clicked instantly, bonding over our love for hiking and trying out new coffee shops. It felt like fate, and after dating for a couple of years, we both knew we were ready to take the next step. Max's family is quite traditional. His mother, Carol, is a strong-willed woman who believes in maintaining family honor above all else. She often boasts about her upper-middle-class lifestyle, which sometimes made me feel inferior. From day one, she was somewhat critical of me, always questioning my background and my choices. I could never quite understand why. Perhaps it was because I wasn't from a wealthy family like they were. My parents are middle class, and I worked hard to pay for my education. I always felt like Carol viewed me as an outsider. Max's father, Frank, passed away a few years before we met. I had never met him, but I heard stories from Max. Frank was a loving father but also had a domineering personality, often calling the shots in the family. Carol took on a more submissive role, and I could see remnants of that dynamic in how she interacted with Max. Sometimes, I felt like I was marrying into a family with expectations and traditions that would never accept me. Despite our differences, Max proposed to me during a hike at our favorite spot, Rattlesnake Ledge. It was magical. He even got down on one knee while I stood there, tears in my eyes. "Will you marry me, Sophie?" he asked, holding out a beautiful vintage ring that belonged to his grandmother. I was over the moon, and I thought, finally, Carol will see how perfect we are together. I wanted her to be happy for us, but I sensed she was merely tolerating the idea of me marrying her son. As the wedding planning began, I made a genuine effort to include Carol. I invited her to help choose the venue, the colors, and the cake flavors. I thought if I made her feel involved, she would warm up to me. But no matter how much I tried to involve her, I felt like she was just putting on a show of support while secretly disapproving. Every time we met to discuss wedding plans, there was an underlying tension. I noticed Carol always suggested extravagant options, pushing for a lavish ceremony that was far beyond our budget. "You want the best for your wedding day, don't you?" she would say with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Max often shrugged it off, but I felt the weight of those expectations. A week before the wedding, I overheard Carol having a conversation in her living room. She was speaking in hushed tones, and I could only catch snippets. Words like dirt, investigator, and Sophie sent chills down my spine. My heart raced. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was she hiring someone to dig up dirt on me? Why? I decided to confront her, but my plans got sidetracked. Max and I were busy with final preparations, including picking up our wedding attire and finalizing guest lists. I tried to push the thoughts out of my mind, but they kept creeping back in. I was determined to figure out what was going on, so I enlisted the help of my best friend, Mia. She was always good at getting to the bottom of things. Mia agreed to help me investigate. We decided to follow Carol discreetly one afternoon. It wasn't easy, but we finally spotted her meeting with a private investigator named Greg outside a cafe. My stomach dropped. I felt like I was in a scene from a thriller movie. What could she possibly be finding out about me that warranted hiring someone? Mia and I listened from a distance as Carol explained her concerns. "I just want to make sure she's not hiding anything," she said. "Max deserves someone who will truly love him." I was crushed. How could she think that of me? I had given up so much to be with Max. I was about to confront her right then and there, but Mia held me back. "Let's find out what else she's planning before you create a scene," she advised. I reluctantly agreed, feeling like a detective in a twisted drama. A few days later, I received an anonymous tip from someone at the cafe where Carol met the investigator. They told me that Carol had not only hired Greg to look into me but had also been pushing Max to consider his options. The realization hit me hard. She was trying to sabotage our wedding. With the wedding just days away, I felt like I was in a nightmare. What if she succeeded? What if Max listened to her? I had to take action. On the day before the wedding, I decided to confront Carol directly. I asked Max to keep himself busy and told him I needed to talk to his mom alone. I took a deep breath as I knocked on her door, my heart pounding in my chest. "Can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Carol looked surprised but gestured for me to come in. I could feel my heart pounding as I sat down. "I overheard you talking about me with that investigator," I said, not wasting any time. "What were you hoping to find?" Her expression changed from surprise to defensiveness. "Sophie, Please, don't deny it. I know you're trying to dig up dirt on me. Why would you do that on my wedding day?" "I'm just looking out for my son," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I want to make sure he's making the right choice." "What do you think I'm doing here? Trying to ruin his life?" "Maybe you are," she snapped back, her frustration boiling over. "You're not from our world. You think this is a fairy tale. I need to protect my son." As we continued to argue, Carol's demeanor shifted. "You don't know him like I do. He has weaknesses," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I was confused and frustrated. "What are you talking about?" Then, it spilled out. Carol revealed that Max had been struggling with a gambling addiction for years. She thought that if I knew, I would leave him. She believed I wasn't the right person for him because I wouldn't accept his flaws. I was blindsided. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, feeling a mix of anger and pity for Max. "Because he was trying to handle it on his own," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't want to ruin your happiness, but I couldn't stand by and watch you marry him without knowing the truth." Suddenly, everything clicked into place. Carol's manipulative behavior stemmed from a place of fear and love, twisted by her protective instincts. But how could she think sabotaging my happiness would protect Max? After our confrontation, I felt compelled to talk to Max. I knew I had to approach the situation carefully. He deserved to know that his mother had been investigating me and that I now knew his secret. That night, I asked Max to meet me at our favorite park. The moonlight filtered through the trees, and the ambience felt almost surreal as I prepared to tell him everything. "Max, we need to talk," I said, my voice shaking. "I found out about your gambling addiction from your mom." He paled and looked away, visibly shaken. I was going to tell you," he stammered. "I just didn't want to ruin our wedding." "Max, it's okay," I replied, reaching for his hand. "But we need to face this together. I love you, flaws and all. I'm not going anywhere." He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Sophie. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could stop before it became a problem. Why didn't you tell me sooner? We could have faced this together." "I thought I could fix it on my own," he said, his voice breaking. "I didn't want to burden you. I didn't want you to see me as weak." We decided then and there to postpone the wedding. It wasn't easy, but we both knew it was the right choice. We had to work through Max's addiction together, and I wanted to ensure we were both emotionally prepared for marriage. When we told Carol about our decision, she was initially upset but quickly realized that this was the best outcome for everyone. She apologized for her actions and admitted that her protective instincts had clouded her judgment. "Your happiness matters to me, Sophie," she said, genuinely. "I just wanted to make sure you were both ready for this commitment. I'll support you in any way I can." The weeks that followed were challenging but transformative. Max sought help for his gambling addiction, and I was there every step of the way, attending support groups and counseling sessions with him. It brought us closer together, allowing us to build a solid foundation based on trust, honesty, and love. After several months of hard work, we finally felt ready to set a new date for our wedding. This time, it was a ceremony filled with genuine love and understanding. We invited family and friends, including Carol, who had become a much more supportive figure in our lives. On the big day, as I walked down the aisle, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy. Max stood at the altar, a genuine smile on his face, ready to embark on this journey together. Carol looked on with tears of pride, finally seeing the love and commitment we had for each other. As we exchanged vows, I felt the weight of the past lift off my shoulders. I realized that our journey had only strengthened our relationship. No matter the challenges we faced, love always triumphed when paired with open communication and trust. We danced the night away, surrounded by friends and family who had supported us through our struggles. It was a wedding day filled with love, acceptance, and hope.